The grandfather clock in Margaret Wilson's living room struck 3 o'clock on that October afternoon, its familiar chime echoing through the house she'd called home for 32 years. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at the credit card statement that would change everything. The charge was small, insignificant really, $43 at Rosewood Inn, dated 6 months ago. But Robert had told her he'd been at an insurance conference in Columbus that weekend.
Columbus doesn't have a Rosewood Inn,
She whispered to the empty kitchen, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. She'd checked. 3 times. The Rosewood Inn was 12 miles away, just off Route 42. Close enough to drive to in 20 minutes. Far enough that no one from their church would accidentally see you there. Margaret pushed her reading glasses up her nose and reached for her laptop, a 5-year-old Dell that Robert always complained ran too slow. Her fingers, still nimble from her years handling money at the bank, typed Rosewood Inn into the search bar. The images loaded slowly. A modest place, clean but unremarkable. The kind of place you went when you didn't want to be remembered. She was about to close the laptop when something else caught her eye. Robert's email was still logged in from when he'd checked it that morning. She hesitated, her cursor hovering over the inbox. 32 years of marriage, 32 years of trust. But that charge, that $43 charge, had created a crack in everything she thought she knew. The first 20 emails were nothing, work correspondence, spam, a newsletter from their church. But there, buried between a Home Depot promotion and a reminder about his dentist appointment, was an email from J. Blackwood 55. Jennifer Blackwood. Margaret knew that name. Jennifer from church, the widow who always brought her famous apple pie to potlucks, the one who'd lost her husband in a construction accident when her boy was just a baby. Margaret clicked. The email was brief. Robert, I know we agreed to be careful, but Lucas asked about his college fund again. You promised you'd help. It's been 26 years. Haven't we been careful enough? Emma doesn't even know you exist. How much longer do we have to pretend? Jay?
Emma?
Margaret's voice cracked on the name. Her hand instinctively moved to her stomach, remembering the 3 miscarriages, the fertility treatments, the doctor who'd finally told them children weren't in God's plan for them. Robert had held her while she cried. He'd said they were enough for each other. She scrolled down, finding more emails. Dozens. Hundreds. Going back years. Her breathing became shallow as the story unfolded in reverse chronology. Jennifer's gratitude for Emma's college tuition. Photos of a young woman at graduation. Pretty, with Robert's distinctive hazel eyes and cleft chin. Medical bills Robert had paid. Birthday cards he'd helped pick out. A whole second life, carefully maintained just outside her peripheral vision. The kitchen felt too small, the October afternoon sun too bright through the gingham curtains she'd sewn herself. Margaret stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the linoleum floor Robert had promised to replace 5 years ago. She moved to the sink, gripping the counter until her knuckles went white. Through the window, she could see her neighbor, Patricia, raking leaves. Normal. Everything looked so normal. The Weber's dog barked at a squirrel. A school bus rumbled past, dropping off the Thompson kids. The world continued its Tuesday afternoon routine, while Margaret's foundation crumbled beneath her feet. Her phone buzzed. Robert's text.
Working late tonight, honey. Don't wait up. Love you.
Margaret stared at the message. How many times had she received this exact text? How many times had working late meant something else entirely? She thought about Jennifer Blackwood, probably at home right now in her tidy little house on Church Street. The house Robert had probably helped pay for. She typed back,
Of course, dear, I'll leave dinner in the oven.
Then she deleted it, typed again.
Take your time.
3 words. Innocent enough. But as Margaret hit send, she felt something shift inside her chest. Not breaking. No, that had already happened. This was different. This was something hardening, crystallizing into purpose. She walked back to the laptop and opened a new browser window. Private browsing, like she'd learned from that library computer class. Her fingers moved with surprising certainty as she typed, Emma Blackwood, Cincinnati, The results loaded quickly. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. A young professional's digital footprint spread across her screen. Emma Blackwood, 26 years old, marketing coordinator at Tech Forward Solutions in downtown Cincinnati. Single, pretty, looked just like her father when she smiled. Margaret clicked on Emma's Facebook profile. The cover photo showed Emma with a group of friends at a company picnic. Margaret enlarged it, studying each face until she found what she was looking for. Or rather, who. There, in the background, wearing a Tech Forward Solutions t-shirt and laughing at something off camera, was a young man she recognized. Lucas Blackwood, Jennifer's son. They worked at the same company. Of course they did. Margaret sat back, her mind working through the implications. Lucas and Emma, both working at Tech Forward. They probably passed each other in the halls every day, maybe even grabbed coffee from the same break room, having no idea they shared a father. Half-siblings, walking through life parallel to each other, separated only by their mother's secrets. The grandfather clock chimed 4 o'clock, pulling Margaret from her thoughts. She had 2 hours before Robert typically came home on his late nights. 2 hours to decide what to do with this knowledge that felt like broken glass in her chest. She could confront him, scream, cry, throw his clothes on the lawn like they did in movies. She could call a lawyer, take half of everything, including half of whatever he'd been giving Jennifer all these years. She could go to their pastor, expose the affair to the whole congregation, watch Jennifer's reputation crumble alongside Robert's. But as Margaret stared at the photo of Emma and Lucas at their company picnic, another thought began to form. A different kind of justice. They looked good standing near each other, even in that casual group photo. Both attractive, both young, both probably lonely in that way young professionals often were. What if they met properly? What if they fell in love? The thought should have horrified her. It should have sent her running to warn them, to prevent such a catastrophe. But Margaret found herself opening another tab, searching for Tech Forward Solutions company events. Their website showed an upcoming Halloween mixer. October 31st. 2 weeks away. She looked at Emma's Facebook again. Single. Then Lucas's. Also single. Both would probably attend the company party. Both would be in costumes, masks, the kind of setting where people let their guards down, where connections sparked. Margaret's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could create a fake profile, maybe. Suggest to Emma that she should talk to that nice young man from the software department. Plant seeds, water them, watch them grow. The front door opened, startling her. Robert's voice called out,
Margaret, I forgot my reading glasses. Had to come back.
She slammed the laptop shut, her heart pounding. Years of marriage had taught her to school her expression, to smile when she wanted to scream. She did so now, turning as Robert entered the kitchen. He looked the same as he had that morning, gray hair neatly combed, polo shirt tucked into khakis, the uniform of a middle-aged insurance adjuster. How had she never noticed the guilt that lived in the corners of his eyes?
You okay, honey? You look a little pale.
Just a headache. You know how the weather changes affect me.
She watched him retrieve his glasses from the counter, those hands she'd held for 32 years now seeming like a stranger's. He kissed her forehead, a habit so automatic it had lost all meaning.
Take some aspirin. I'll try not to be too late.
Take your time.
The same 3 words as her text, but now they tasted different in her mouth. Like patience. Like planning. After he left, Margaret reopened the laptop. She had work to do. But first, she walked to their bedroom and stood before their wedding photo. 2 kids, really. Her just 26, and Robert 28, grinning at a future they couldn't imagine. She traced her younger self's face, that girl who'd believed in fairy tales and happy endings. Then she turned the photo face down. Back at the kitchen table, she pulled up Tech Forward's website again. The Halloween mixer was open to all employees. Costume contest, dancing, an open bar. The perfect setting for a chance encounter that wouldn't seem like chance at all. Margaret began making notes in the small notebook she used for grocery lists. Emma's interests from her social media, yoga, hiking, true crime podcasts. Lucas's from his, coding, rock climbing, the same true crime podcast. She circled that last item twice. They already had something in common. As the afternoon sun began to set, casting long shadows across her kitchen, Margaret felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Purpose. Robert and Jennifer had built their secret life on a foundation of lies, creating 2 children who didn't know they were siblings. They'd been so careful, so clever, keeping their families in separate boxes. But boxes could be opened, secrets could be exposed, and sometimes the best revenge wasn't destruction. It was letting people destroy themselves. The grandfather clock chimed 5. Margaret smiled, an expression that would have frightened Robert if he'd seen it. She had 2 weeks to prepare, 2 weeks to plan something that would make 32 years of lies collapse like a house of cards. She opened a new document on her laptop and began typing.
Phase 1, the introduction.
Outside, Patricia had finished raking her leaves. The school bus had long since departed. The ordinary Tuesday afternoon had ended, but Margaret Wilson's transformation had just begun. 2 weeks had passed since Margaret discovered the truth, and she'd used every minute with surgical precision. The kitchen table had become her war room, though she cleared it each evening before Robert came home, hiding her notebooks in the same drawer where she'd once kept recipe cards for meals she'd never cook again. This morning, Halloween morning, she reviewed her work one final time. She'd learned so much about Emma and Lucas through their digital footprints. Emma posted her morning runs on Instagram, always the same route through Eden Park at 6:30 a.m. Lucas complained on Twitter about the coffee machine on the 3rd floor being broken, forcing him to use the one on the 5th, where the marketing team worked. Small details, breadcrumbs of routine that painted a picture of 2 lives that barely intersected despite working in the same building. Margaret had created a fake LinkedIn profile, Sandra Matthews, a recruiting consultant. It had taken her 3 tries to make it look real, but those library computer classes had paid off. Through Sandra, she'd messaged Emma about a networking opportunity and learned the young woman was frustrated with her career trajectory, feeling stuck. She'd done the same with Lucas, discovering he was considering relocating to Seattle for a better position. Both were lonely. Both were searching. Both were perfect. The grandfather clock chimed 8. Robert had left early, claiming a breakfast meeting. Margaret didn't bother checking if it was true anymore. She had bigger plans. She drove to Tech Forward Solutions, parking across the street where she could see the employee entrance. She'd been here 4 times now, learning the rhythms of the place. At 8:45, she watched Emma arrive, dressed in a black skirt and orange blouse, festive but professional. At 8:52, Lucas pulled up on his motorcycle, the one Jennifer probably worried about every day. They passed within feet of each other at the entrance. Emma held the door. Lucas nodded his thanks. No recognition beyond polite strangers. Tonight would change that. Margaret drove to the craft store next, purchasing supplies for the next phase. The teenage cashier, dressed as a witch, chattered about her own Halloween plans while Margaret nodded absently. If only the girl knew what real witchcraft looked like. Not spells and potions, but careful manipulation of circumstances, the dark art of destroyed trust. Back home, she opened her laptop to the Tech Forward employee portal. She'd gained access through a phishing email she'd sent to a junior HR assistant, shocking how easy it was when you posed as IT support. The Halloween mixer details filled her screen. The company had sent out a reminder that morning. Costume contest at 9. Best couple's costume would win a $500 gift card. Margaret smiled. She'd sent anonymous suggestions to both Emma and Lucas through the company's event planning survey. Emma had received classic Hollywood glamour, Audrey Hepburn, Grace Kelly. Lucas had received classic Hollywood leading men, Cary Grant, Gregory Peck. Complimentary without being obvious. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer Blackwood, of all people.
Hi, Margaret. Just wondering if you're bringing your apple crumble to the church potluck on Sunday. Want to make sure I don't duplicate. Hope you're well.
Margaret stared at the message. The audacity of it. This woman who'd been sleeping with her husband for 27 years, asking about potluck dishes like they were friends. Her fingers tightened on the phone until her knuckles went white. She typed back,
I'll bring something special this year, something unexpected.
After hitting send, she returned to her planning. She'd reserved a table at Cristiano's, the Italian restaurant 2 blocks from Tech Forward, under Emma's name for 10 p.m. She'd also reserved one under Lucas's name for the same time. When they both showed up for reservations they didn't remember making, the hostess would assume they were together. A mix-up, a happy accident, the kind of story couples told at their weddings. The thought of their wedding made her stomach turn, but she pushed through the nausea. This was justice. Robert and Jennifer had created this situation with their lies. The children were innocent, yes, but innocence was often the first casualty of their parents' sins. At 3 p.m., she drove back to Tech Forward's building. The package delivery was scheduled for 3:30. 2 bouquets, one to Emma's desk, one to Lucas's. The cards were carefully worded. From a secret admirer, find me at the party tonight. I'll be the one in classic Hollywood style. Generic enough to mean anything, specific enough to create intrigue. She waited in her car, watching through the lobby's glass doors as the delivery person entered. 20 minutes later, her phone, logged into the fake Facebook profile she'd created, pinged with Emma's status update.
Secret admirer alert. Guess I'm definitely going to the Halloween party tonight.
Lucas didn't post about his flowers, but Margaret had expected that. Men were less likely to share such things publicly. But he'd go to the party. Curiosity was human nature. At 5 p.m., Robert called.
Hey, honey, I might be late again tonight. Johnson wants to review the quarterly reports.
On Halloween?
I know. But you know how he is. You don't have any trick-or-treaters to deal with anyway. Mrs. Patterson is handling the neighborhood candy station this year, right?
Yes, she is. Don't worry about me. I have plenty to keep me busy.
You're the best, Marge. I'll make it up to you this weekend.
After he hung up, Margaret checked his location on the Find My Phone app he didn't know she'd activated. He was at Jennifer's house. Of course he was. Probably helping her hand out candy to trick-or-treaters, playing the role of friendly family friend while his actual wife sat alone. She felt that familiar rage building, but channeled it into focus. Tonight wasn't about Robert and Jennifer. It was about the seeds she was planting, the garden of destruction she was cultivating. At 7 p.m., she positioned herself at the coffee shop across from Tech Forward. Through the windows, she could see employees in costume starting to gather in the decorated lobby. She'd brought binoculars, birdwatching. She'd tell anyone who asked, though no one did. At 7:23, Emma arrived. She'd taken Margaret's suggestion perfectly, a black dress reminiscent of breakfast at Tiffany's, pearl necklace, her hair in an elegant updo. She looked stunning, like a young Audrey Hepburn indeed. At 7:31, Lucas arrived, and Margaret's breath caught. He'd chosen Gregory Peck's look from Roman Holiday, the same movie. A charcoal suit, thin tie, hair slicked back. It was almost too perfect, as if fate itself was conspiring with her plan. Through the binoculars, she watched them notice each other across the lobby. The recognition was instant, not of siblings, but of complementary costumes. Emma laughed, pointing at Lucas. He gestured at her outfit, clearly making the connection. They gravitated toward each other like magnets, and Margaret could read their lips enough to understand. Roman Holiday? You too? This is weird. I got flowers today saying to dress classic Hollywood. Wait, me too. They were laughing now, comparing notes. Other employees were starting to notice, pointing at the matching costumes. Someone, probably from HR, was already taking photos for the company newsletter. Margaret waited another hour, watching as Emma and Lucas stayed near each other during the costume contest. They didn't win. That went to a couple dressed as Batman and Catwoman, but they'd been paired in everyone's minds. When the dancing started, she saw Lucas gesture toward the dance floor. Emma nodded. They danced to something slow. Margaret couldn't hear the music from here, but she could see the way they moved together, tentative at first, then more comfortable. Emma's head barely reached Lucas's shoulder. They fit together perfectly, these half-siblings who didn't know they shared blood. At 9:45, Margaret saw them leave together, right on schedule for their accidental dinner reservation. She packed up her binoculars and drove home, arriving just as Robert's car pulled into the garage. He entered through the kitchen, smelling of Jennifer's perfume, jasmine and vanilla, nothing like Margaret's lavender. His shirt had a small orange smudge on the collar, probably from handling candy, or perhaps from Jennifer's lipstick.
How was your evening?
Productive. I've been working on a project.
Oh, what kind of project?
You'll see. It's a surprise. Something that will bring families together.
Robert kissed her cheek absently, already heading toward the stairs.
That's nice, honey. I'm exhausted. Going to shower and head to bed.
Margaret waited until she heard the shower running, then opened her laptop. Emma had posted a photo on Instagram 10 minutes ago. Her and Lucas at Cristiano's, raising glasses of wine. The caption read, "When the universe conspires to give you the perfect evening. Thanks to whoever sent those flowers. Halloween rock serendipity." The first comment was from Lucas. Best mistaken reservation ever. Margaret clicked over to the fake profile she'd created for Phase 3 of her plan. Tomorrow, she'd start dropping hints in the tech-forward employee Facebook group. Observations about what a cute couple Emma and Lucas made. How perfect they looked together. How it was about time those two noticed each other. She'd water these seeds carefully. Not too much, not too fast. Love, like revenge, needed time to grow properly. By Thanksgiving, they'd be dating officially. By Christmas, they'd be in love. By Valentine's Day, they'd be talking about the future. And then, when they were in so deep they couldn't imagine life without each other, when they'd built their relationship on the foundation of their parents' lies, Margaret would reveal the truth. The shower shut off upstairs. Margaret closed the laptop and prepared for bed, her mind already working through the next steps. She'd need to document everything: photos, social media posts, evidence that couldn't be denied. She'd need to find the right moment, the perfect public setting where Robert and Jennifer couldn't hide or deny or minimize what they'd done. The church potluck, perhaps? Or better yet, Emma and Lucas's engagement party. Because there would be one. Margaret would make sure of it. As she climbed the stairs, she passed their family photos lining the wall. Robert's parents, long dead. Her mother, gone 5 years now. Their wedding. Various anniversaries. All lies, every single image. A museum of deception she'd lived in for 32 years. In their bedroom, Robert was already in bed, his back to her side. She changed in the dark, sliding between sheets that felt cold despite the warm October night. Through the window, she could hear the last of the trick-or-treaters heading home, their laughter fading into the distance. Her phone, set to silent, lit up with a text. She glanced at it, making sure Robert was asleep first. It was from Emma's number. Margaret had gotten it from the employee database, but it wasn't meant for her. It was clearly meant for a girlfriend. "Amy, you're not going to believe this. Remember that guy Lucas from the software department? We totally hit it off tonight. He's smart and funny, and oh my God, he's such a good dancer. We're having lunch tomorrow. I haven't felt butterflies like this in forever." Margaret deleted the misdirected text without responding. Let Emma think her silence was Amy being asleep. Butterflies. The poor girl had butterflies for her own half-brother. Margaret turned onto her side, facing away from Robert. In the darkness, she smiled. Phase 2 was complete. Tomorrow, Phase 3 would begin. The careful cultivation of a romance that should never exist. She thought about Jennifer, probably lying in her own bed right now. No idea that her carefully constructed house of cards was about to collapse. 27 years of secrets were about to come due, with interest. The grandfather clock downstairs chimed midnight. November 1st. A new month. A new phase. Margaret closed her eyes, and for the first time in 2 weeks, fell asleep instantly. Thanksgiving arrived with unseasonable warmth, the November sun casting golden light through the Wilson dining room where Margaret had set the table for two. Just two, though she'd bought enough turkey for 6. The excess food would go to waste, like so many things in this house built on pretense. 6 weeks had passed since Halloween, and Margaret's plan had exceeded even her own expectations. She pulled up Emma's Instagram on her phone, scrolling through the documentation of a romance that bloomed faster than spring flowers after rain. There they were at the Cincinnati Zoo's Festival of Lights, at a Bengals game, cooking dinner together in Lucas's apartment. 37 photos in 6 weeks, each one tagged with hashtags like one, blessed, and soulmate vibes. The latest post, from yesterday, showed their joined hands, Emma's manicured nails, Lucas's programmer's fingers, with the caption, "Thankful doesn't even begin to cover it. Can't wait for you to meet my dad tomorrow." Margaret nearly dropped the phone. Meeting parents already. She hadn't anticipated this acceleration, though perhaps she should have. Young people moved fast these days, and when you unknowingly shared DNA with someone, maybe there was an unconscious recognition, a cellular pull toward family disguised as attraction. Robert emerged from the bedroom, adjusting his tie, the one Emma had apparently helped Lucas pick out for this very dinner.
You sure you don't want to come to Jennifer's for Thanksgiving? She always makes enough food for an army.
I told you I'm not feeling well. Besides, someone should be here in case your brother calls from Florida.
It was a weak excuse, and they both knew it. David hadn't called on Thanksgiving in 3 years, but Robert seemed relieved not to push it, probably grateful he didn't have to juggle his wife and mistress at the same holiday table.
Jennifer mentioned her son is bringing his new girlfriend. Apparently it's getting serious.
How nice for them. Young love is such a precious thing.
Robert missed the edge in her voice, already checking his phone, probably for messages from Jennifer about dinner timing, or perhaps from Emma, his secret daughter, who was about to introduce her half-brother to their father, though neither young person knew that's what was happening. After Robert left, Margaret positioned herself at her laptop. She'd installed tracking software on Robert's phone weeks ago. He never noticed the extra app hidden in a utilities folder. She could watch his location in real time, see when he arrived at Jennifer's house on Church Street. At 2:47 p.m., his dot stopped moving. He was there. Margaret opened the fake Facebook profile she'd been maintaining. Sandra Matthews had become quite popular in the tech-forward employee community, always commenting supportively on Emma and Lucas's relationship posts. Through Sandra, she'd learned so much, like how Lucas had started leaving flowers on Emma's desk every Monday, how Emma had taught Lucas to make her grandmother's apple pie recipe, probably Jennifer's mother's recipe, though Emma didn't know that, how they'd already discussed moving in together. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia next door.
Saw Robert leave. You're really not going to his coworker's dinner?
Even the neighbors believed the lie. Margaret typed back.
Migraine, enjoying the quiet.
She returned to her surveillance. Through a combination of social media and careful observation, she'd mapped out exactly what was happening at Jennifer's house right now. The dining room would be set with Jennifer's good china, the one she'd inherited from her mother. Lucas would be nervous, wanting his mother to approve of Emma. Emma would be trying to impress, probably wearing the conservative dress she'd posted about buying specifically for this occasion. And Robert would be sitting at that table, watching his son and daughter fall deeper in love, maintaining his composure because what else could he do? If he spoke up now, he'd have to explain everything. The affair, the lies, the payments, the complete destruction of 2 families built on deception. At 3:15 p.m., Emma posted a photo to her Instagram story. Margaret screenshotted it immediately. It showed a dining room table from Emma's perspective. She must have taken it discreetly. There was Jennifer at the head of the table, looking older than her 55 years, stress lines evident even through the phone's camera. There was Lucas beside Emma, his hand on hers. And there was Robert, caught mid-gesture, his face a mask of barely controlled panic. The caption read, "Lucas's mom's friend, Mr. Wilson, is here too. Such a small world. He knows my company." Of course, Robert would have been introduced as just a family friend. What else could Jennifer say? Margaret zoomed in on Robert's face. She'd seen that expression exactly once before, when the doctor had told them she'd miscarried for the third time. It was the look of a man watching something precious slip away, powerless to stop it. Good. Let him suffer the way she'd suffered. She pulled out the notebook where she'd been documenting everything, every date, every photo, every milestone in Emma and Lucas's relationship. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. When the time came to reveal the truth, no one would be able to claim it was a misunderstanding or exaggeration. Her phone rang. Robert's number.
Margaret, I need to come home.
What's wrong? You just got there.
I'm not feeling well. Something I ate, maybe. Jennifer understands. I'll be home in 20 minutes.
He was lying. But then again, when wasn't he? Margaret quickly closed her laptop and positioned herself on the couch with a book, playing the part of the sick wife enjoying a quiet afternoon. Robert arrived in 15 minutes, his face ashen. He went straight to the liquor cabinet, pouring himself a scotch with shaking hands.
That bad?
Just unexpected. Jennifer's son, his new girlfriend.
He trailed off, downing the scotch in one swallow.
What about them?
Nothing. It's nothing. They seem very serious. Very fast.
Young people today do move quickly, but when you know, you know. Isn't that what you always told me about us?
Robert poured another scotch, larger this time. Margaret watched him struggle, weighing his options. He could confess everything right now. Tell her about Jennifer, about Emma, about the decades of deception. But that would mean losing everything, his wife, his reputation, his carefully compartmentalized life. Or he could stay silent and watch his children commit accidental incest. She could see the moment he chose cowardice. His shoulders dropped, the fight leaving his body. He'd rather let this horror continue than face the consequences of his actions.
I think I need to lie down.
He headed upstairs, his footsteps heavy. Margaret waited until she heard the bedroom door close, then returned to her laptop. Emma had posted more stories. A selfie with Lucas and Jennifer, all three smiling. Lucas and Robert playing football in the backyard. The son teaching the father he didn't know was his father. Emma helping Jennifer in the kitchen, the two women who shared Robert's affection without knowing it. At 6 p.m., a longer post appeared on Emma's Facebook. Today, I'm thankful for so much. For Lucas, who came into my life like a hurricane of joy. For his wonderful mom, Jennifer, who welcomed me like family. For Mr. Wilson, who gave us great career advice and told the funniest stories about the insurance industry. But mostly, I'm thankful for the feeling that everything is falling into place. Like the universe has a plan. 6 weeks ago, I was lonely and lost. Now I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The comments flooded in immediately. Co-workers gushing about what a perfect couple they made. Friends saying they'd never seen Emma so happy. Jennifer had even commented, "So blessed to have you in our lives, sweetie." Margaret screenshotted everything. At 8 p.m., she heard Robert moving around upstairs. He came down looking haggard, his hair disheveled.
I can't shake this feeling.
What feeling?
Like something terrible is about to happen. Like everything's about to fall apart.
Margaret stood, moving to him with practiced concern. She placed a hand on his forehead, checking for fever like a dutiful wife would.
You're just stressed about work. The holidays always make you anxious. Why don't you watch some TV? Take your mind off things.
Robert nodded absently, settling into his recliner. Margaret returned to the kitchen, ostensibly to prepare dinner, but really to continue monitoring. Lucas had posted now, a simple photo of him and Emma on Jennifer's porch swing, sunset behind them, her head on his shoulder. "Found my person," the caption read. Margaret thought about the child Emma had mentioned wanting in one of her posts, the wedding Lucas had started saving for, according to his Twitter, the future they were building on a foundation of lies they didn't even know existed. She began preparing dinner, Robert's favorite pot roast, though he probably wouldn't eat much. As she chopped vegetables, she considered her timeline. Christmas was coming. The tech-forward company Christmas party was December 15th. She'd already seen the save the date. That would be a good venue. Public, lots of witnesses, no easy escape. Or perhaps New Year's Eve. Something about the symbolism appealed to her. Out with the old year and its secrets, in with the new year and its revelations. Her phone buzzed. Another text. This one from Jennifer.
Hi, Margaret. Hope you're feeling better. Missed you at dinner today. Lucas's girlfriend Emma is such a sweetheart. You'd love her. Maybe we can all have lunch sometime. The kids are already planning Christmas together.
The audacity. The absolute blindness of it. Jennifer had no idea she was texting the wife of her lover, talking about their children's relationship like it was something to celebrate. Margaret typed back.
That sounds lovely. I'm sure we'll all get together soon. Very soon.
She added Jennifer's text to her evidence folder. When the truth came out, everyone would see how Jennifer had flaunted the relationship, how she'd rubbed it in Margaret's face without even knowing it. Robert called from the living room.
Honey, come look at this.
She found him staring at the TV, where the local news was running a human interest story about workplace romances. There, on the screen, was footage from Tech Forward's Halloween party. The camera panned across costumed employees, lingering on Emma and Lucas in their Roman holiday costumes, dancing together. And this couple, the perky reporter said, proves that sometimes the person you're meant to be with is right there in your office. Emma and Lucas met at their company Halloween party and have been inseparable ever since. We'll have more on their storybook romance after the break.
Turn it off.
His voice was strangled. Margaret picked up the remote, but didn't press the button.
They make a beautiful couple, don't they? They look so natural together, like they were made for each other.
Please, turn it off.
She clicked the TV off, leaving them in sudden silence. Robert's breathing was rapid, panicked. She could see him wrestling with himself, the truth clawing at his throat, demanding to be spoken. But he stayed silent. He was going to let this happen. He was going to let his children destroy their lives rather than admit to his own sins. Margaret returned to the kitchen to finish dinner. Through the window, she could see the Williams family next door decorating their Christmas tree already, getting a jump on the season. Their children laughed as they hung ornaments, the perfect picture of family harmony. She thought about her own decorations, boxed up in the attic. This year, she'd have something better to unwrap than Christmas ornaments. This year, she'd reveal the truth that had been hidden for 27 years. The pot roast timer went off. She plated the food mechanically, her mind already working through the logistics. She'd need to get both families in the same room. Maybe she'd suggest a joint Christmas dinner, frame it as bringing everyone together, since Emma and Lucas were so serious. As she carried the plates to the dining room, she found Robert still in his chair, staring at nothing. His phone was in his hand, Jennifer's contact information on the screen. His thumb hovered over the call button. He looked up at Margaret, and for a moment, she thought he might confess everything. His mouth opened, the words forming, but then he put the phone down.
Dinner smells wonderful.
They ate in silence, the grandfather clock ticking away the seconds of their marriage, counting down to an explosion that was now inevitable. Outside, the unseasonably warm November day had given way to a cold night, the first real hint of winter. Margaret thought about Emma and Lucas, probably together right now, planning their future, falling deeper in love with every passing hour. They had no idea they were half-siblings, no idea their love story was actually a Greek tragedy. But they would know soon. Everyone would know soon. The 15th of December arrived with a severe winter storm warning, but nothing could dampen the festive atmosphere at the Hilton downtown, where Tech Forward's Christmas party was in full swing. Margaret stood at the entrance in her carefully chosen outfit, a deep burgundy dress she'd bought specifically for tonight, the color of aged wine and old blood. She'd arrived early, watching from the lobby as employees streamed in. Emma wore emerald green, radiant with happiness. Lucas had his arm around her waist, protective and proud. They'd been together 2.5 months now, long enough for love, not long enough for the kind of scrutiny that might have revealed the truth. Robert had tried to back out of attending, claiming a stomach bug, but Margaret had insisted. Jennifer invited us specifically, she'd said. It would be rude not to go. She'd watched him struggle, trapped between his wife's sudden social interest and his desperate need to avoid this collision of his two worlds. Now he stood beside her, sweating despite the cold, his eyes darting between the entrance and the emergency exits like a cornered animal seeking escape. Jennifer arrived at 7:15, elegant in silver, her face carefully made up, but unable to hide the strain around her eyes. She'd been trying to reach Robert all day. Margaret had seen the calls on his phone, had deleted the increasingly frantic text messages. Jennifer knew something was wrong, but couldn't quite place what. The banquet hall glittered with lights and tinsel, round tables set for 8, a DJ playing Christmas standards. Margaret had specifically requested they be seated at table 12. She'd called pretending to be Robert's secretary, managing the seating arrangements. Table 12 was perfectly positioned. Emma, Lucas, Jennifer, Robert, Margaret, and 3 tech-forward executives who would serve as witnesses. As they took their seats, Margaret watched the grotesque dance of pretense. Robert shaking Lucas's hand like he was just his lover's son, not his own. Jennifer air-kissing Emma like she was just her son's girlfriend, not the daughter of the man she'd been sleeping with for decades. The children themselves, fingers intertwined, stealing kisses between courses, blissfully unaware they shared a father. The wine flowed freely. Margaret nursed a single glass while watching Robert drain 3. Jennifer kept trying to catch his eye, but he stared resolutely at his plate. Emma and Lucas were in their own world, her hand on his thigh under the table, his fingers playing with her hair. During the 3rd course, Emma stood up, tapping her wine glass.
Sorry, everyone. I know this isn't the official toast time, but I just have to say something.
The table turned to her, Lucas looking up with adoration. Margaret gripped her napkin under the table.
3 months ago, I was lost. Career going nowhere, personally lonely, just existing. Then this amazing man walked into my life, or actually, we walked into each other's lives, both dressed for the same movie we didn't know the other had chosen.
Laughter around the table. Jennifer reached for Robert's hand under the table. He pulled away.
Lucas, you've changed everything. You make me want to be better, dream bigger, love harder. Your mom raised an incredible man, and I'm so grateful to be part of your family now.
She turned to Jennifer, raising her glass.
Jennifer, thank you for welcoming me so warmly. You've been like a second mother to me these past weeks.
Margaret saw the moment those words hit Jennifer. Second mother. If only Emma knew she was thanking the woman who'd been sleeping with her father since before she was born. Lucas stood, pulling Emma close.
Since we're doing this, Emma, these have been the best 3 months of my life. I love you.
It was the first time he'd said it publicly. Emma's eyes filled with tears.
I love you too.
They kissed, the table erupting in applause. Robert knocked over his wine glass, the red liquid spreading across the white tablecloth like blood. Margaret stood. The table quieted, perhaps sensing something in her posture, the way she held herself with terrible purpose.
What a beautiful toast. Love is such a powerful force, isn't it? It makes us do extraordinary things, keep secrets, tell lies, build entire lives on foundations of deception.
She pulled out her phone, connected it to the portable speaker she'd hidden in her purse earlier. Her finger hovered over the play button.
I have something to share with this lovely couple, a recording I made this morning, a conversation with someone who's been carrying a secret for 27 years.
Robert lunged for the phone, but Margaret stepped back. The recording began, her own voice, talking to someone.
So you confirm that Robert Wilson is Emma's biological father?
A stranger's voice, clinical and professional. The DNA test results are conclusive. Robert Wilson and Emma Blackwood share 50% DNA. Parental relationship confirmed with 99.99% certainty. The table went still. Emma's hand slowly pulled away from Lucas's. Jennifer's face drained of all color.
What is this?
The truth, dear. You're Robert's daughter, not the daughter of whatever man Jennifer told you was your father, Robert's, which makes Lucas your half-brother.
Lucas shot to his feet, his chair falling backward.
That's insane. You're lying. Mom, tell her she's lying.
Jennifer's mouth opened and closed, no sound emerging. Robert finally found his voice.
Margaret, please.
Please what? Please keep your secret? Please let these children continue their relationship not knowing their siblings? Please pretend I haven't been living with a liar for 32 years?
She pulled out a folder from her purse, spreading photos across the table. Bank statements showing payments to Jennifer. Emma's birth certificate with the father's name conspicuously blank. Medical records she'd obtained through methods she wouldn't admit to. Email printouts spanning years.
27 years, Jennifer. You've been sleeping with my husband for 27 years, having his child, taking his money, and you sit in church every Sunday, bringing your apple pies, pretending to be a virtuous widow.
Emma stood on shaking legs, staring at the evidence. Her face had gone gray, her hand moving to her stomach in a gesture Margaret recognized, the protective instinct of early pregnancy. Margaret had suspected from Emma's recent social media posts about feeling tired, skipping wine at dinners. Lucas grabbed the DNA results, his programmer's mind trying to process the data, find the error, the glitch that would make this not true.
Mom! Mom! Say something!
Lucas, baby, I can explain.
Explain? Explain? You let me fall in love with my sister?
The word sister hit Emma like a physical blow. She doubled over, retching. A waiter rushed over with a napkin, but she pushed him away, stumbling toward the exit. Lucas started after her, then stopped, torn between following Emma and confronting his mother. The executives at their table were frozen, witnesses to a tragedy they couldn't comprehend. One quietly raised his phone, and Margaret knew this would be on social media within minutes. Good. Let everyone know. Robert stood, reaching for Margaret.
You've destroyed them. You've destroyed innocent children.
I destroyed them? I didn't father a child with another woman. I didn't lie for 27 years. I didn't sit at Thanksgiving dinner watching my children fall in love and say nothing.
She turned to the room, which had gone silent, all eyes on their table.
Everyone, please enjoy your evening. The Wilson family will be leaving now. All of us. Including the extended family we didn't know we had.
Jennifer found her voice, venom replacing shock.
You knew, and you let this happen. You could have warned them privately. Stop this before.
Before what? Before they fell in love? Before you faced consequences? You had 27 years to tell the truth, Jennifer. Every day you chose lies. Every day Robert chose lies. Well, I chose truth. Finally.
Lucas had his phone out, frantically scrolling through genetic websites, trying to understand. His voice broke.
She's pregnant. Emma's pregnant. We just found out yesterday. We were going to announce it at Christmas.
The words hung in the air like a death sentence. A pregnancy between half-siblings. A child conceived in ignorance who would carry the weight of this revelation forever. Margaret felt something crack in her chest. Not satisfaction, but something darker. She'd wanted to hurt Robert and Jennifer, but seeing Lucas's devastation, imagining Emma somewhere vomiting in a bathroom, knowing there was an innocent baby who would be born into this chaos? Had she gone too far? No. They had gone too far 27 years ago. This was justice.
Margaret, we're leaving, now.
Yes, I think we are, but not together. I'll be filing for divorce Monday morning. The house is mine, premarital inheritance from my mother. You can go live with Jennifer now, openly, honestly, finally.
She gathered her purse, leaving the evidence scattered across the table for anyone who wanted to verify her claims. As she walked through the silent banquet hall, she heard Lucas's anguished voice behind her.
How could you not tell me? How could you let us? How could you?
Jennifer's response was lost in sobbing. In the lobby, Margaret found Emma curled on a bench, shaking. Their eyes met. The older woman who'd orchestrated this revelation, and the younger woman whose life had just been destroyed. For a moment, Margaret almost reached out, almost offered comfort. But Emma's eyes hardened.
You're a monster. You knew. You watched us fall in love and you knew.
Your father's the monster. He created this situation.
My father, God, Robert's my father, Lucas is and I'm carrying...
She didn't finish, running for the bathroom again. Margaret left the hotel and walked into the December night. Snow had begun to fall, heavy flakes that would cover everything in pristine white by morning. But nothing could cover what had been revealed tonight. It would spread through social media, through the community, through their church. The truth, after 27 years of lies. Behind her, she heard Robert calling her name, but she didn't turn. She had nothing left to say to him. As she reached her car, her phone buzzed. A text from Lucas. "I hope you burn in hell for this." Then another, from Emma. "The baby. What do I do about the baby?" Margaret sat in her car, watching the snow fall, and realized her revenge was complete, but her victory was hollow. She'd destroyed Robert and Jennifer's secret, yes, but she'd also destroyed 2 innocent young people and potentially damaged an unborn child. The grandfather clock at home would be chiming 10 o'clock now, marking time in an empty house that would never again know the illusion of family. She'd won. So why did it feel like everyone had lost? 3 months had passed since the Christmas party, and March arrived with unexpected frost that killed Margaret's early daffodils. She stood at her kitchen window, staring at the brown, wilted stems, flowers that had bloomed too soon, trusted too early, and paid the price. The house felt larger now without Robert's presence. His things were gone, removed by movers while she was at her lawyer's office. The divorce would be final next month, uncontested, as Robert had given her everything just to make it end quickly. The house, the savings, even his pension. Blood money for a marriage built on lies. Her phone rang. She almost didn't answer when she saw the number, Lucas. But curiosity won.
We need to talk in person.
I don't think that's...
Please, it's about Emma and the baby.
Margaret agreed to meet him at a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory. She arrived early, choosing a corner booth where they wouldn't be overheard. Lucas appeared exactly at noon, and she barely recognized him. He'd lost weight, his programmer's physique now gaunt, dark circles under eyes that had aged a decade in 3 months. He sat down without greeting her, pulling out a folder.
Emma's gone. She left the city after she made her decision about the pregnancy. She's keeping the baby in case you wondered. Moved to Seattle, staying with a cousin who doesn't know the whole story.
Why are you telling me this?
Because someone needs to know the truth. The whole truth. Not the version you told at the party, not the version my mother clings to, but the actual truth.
He opened the folder, revealing documents Margaret had never seen. Old letters, photographs, a journal in faded ink.
After everything exploded, I went through my mother's things. Found these hidden in the attic. Letters from Robert dating back 28 years, not 27. They met before he married you, Margaret. They were engaged.
Margaret's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips.
My grandmother, my mother's mother, was dying of cancer. Hospital bills were crushing them. Robert was just starting out in insurance, had no money. Then he met you at that bank where you worked. You had just inherited money from your uncle's estate. Enough to save my grandmother, enough to build a life.
Lucas pushed a photograph across the table. Young Robert and Jennifer at what looked like a courthouse. Jennifer in a simple white dress.
They got married, secretly, 2 weeks before he married you. He never divorced her, Margaret. Your entire marriage was invalid. You were never legally his wife.
The coffee shop seemed to tilt. Margaret gripped the table edge, her mind reeling. 32 years. 32 years of a marriage that had never existed.
He married you for money to save the woman he actually loved. They planned to tell you after a year, get an annulment, pay you back. But then you had the miscarriages, became so fragile, and Robert, he was a coward. Couldn't hurt you. So he lived 2 lives. Jennifer was his real wife. You were
Stop.
the other woman, Margaret. You were always the other woman, you just didn't know it.
She wanted to deny it, to rage against this revelation, but the pieces fit too perfectly. Robert's distance, his scheduled affection, the way he'd never truly been present even when he was home. He'd been a husband playing a role, not a husband living a marriage. Lucas pulled out another document, a birth certificate.
Emma's real birth certificate, the one my mother kept hidden. Father's name, Robert Wilson. Born in wedlock, legitimate, while any children you might have had would have been...
I said stop.
But Lucas wasn't finished. His voice grew harder, colder.
You thought you were getting revenge on them, but you know what you really did? You freed them. They don't have to hide anymore. They're together now, openly, living in Jennifer's house. Robert looks happier than I've ever seen him. Lighter, like a weight he'd carried for decades is finally gone.
Margaret stood to leave, but Lucas grabbed her wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to make his point.
Emma and I, we're the ones destroyed. We're the ones who can't sleep, can't eat, can't forget that we created a life together before knowing we shared blood. She texts me ultrasound photos. The baby's healthy despite everything. Due in June. A girl. She's going to name her Grace.
Why Grace?
Because she says even the worst mistakes can create something beautiful. That even in our ignorance we made something out of love, not lies.
He released her wrist, his energy seeming to drain away.
I'm leaving too. Got a job in Portland. Can't stay here where everyone knows. The news story made us famous in the worst way. The siblings who didn't know. We're a cautionary tale, a Jerry Springer episode, a Reddit thread with 10,000 comments.
Margaret sank back into the booth. Everything she'd believed was inverted. She'd thought she was the wronged wife getting justice. Instead, she was the unwitting accomplice to a decades-long deception, the mark in a con that had destroyed innocent lives. Lucas stood to leave, then paused.
You want to know the worst part? I still love her. Not as a sister. I can't rewire my brain that fast. I still dream about her, about the life we were planning. White picket fence, Sunday dinners, teaching our kids to code and market and dream big. Now she's alone in Seattle, pregnant with our daughter, while I'm going to Portland to try to forget. And our parents? They're finally together, probably planning their official wedding now that your divorce will be final.
They're getting married?
June 15th. Small ceremony. They sent me an invitation. Can you believe that? An invitation to watch my mother marry the man whose lies destroyed my life.
He laughed, bitter and sharp.
Oh, and here's the best part. They're using the church where you all went together, where you sat next to Jennifer at services, thinking she was just another congregant, not knowing she was wearing your husband's real wedding ring on a chain under her dress.
Lucas left without goodbye. Margaret sat in the booth as her coffee grew cold, processing this new reality. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through the emails she'd discovered months ago with new understanding. The carefully worded messages took on different meaning now. Not an affair being hidden, but a marriage being maintained despite an unfortunate complication. That complication being her. Her phone buzzed. A text from Robert. The papers from the lawyer came through. I signed everything. I'm sorry for everything, Margaret. You deserved better than the lie I made you live. She almost laughed. Even now, even in his apology, he couldn't tell her the full truth. That their marriage had been invalid. That she'd been the other woman in her own life story. She typed back, I know about the first marriage. 3 dots appeared, showing he was typing. They disappeared. Appeared again. Then nothing. Finally, after 5 minutes, I'm sorry. 2 words to encompass 32 years of deception. Margaret left the coffee shop and drove home to her empty house. The grandfather clock chimed 2 o'clock, the same sound that had marked every hour of her false marriage. She walked through rooms that had housed an illusion, past walls hung with photographs of a union that had never legally existed. In what had been their bedroom, her bedroom now, she found the wedding album she'd hidden away, but couldn't bring herself to throw out. She opened it to the first page. There she was, 26 and radiant, standing next to Robert in his rented tux. He was smiling, but now she could see the strain in it, the guilt. He'd married his real wife 2 weeks before this photo was taken. She turned the page and found their wedding party photo, her sister as maid of honor, Robert's brother as best man. And there, barely visible in the background among the guests, was Jennifer. She'd attended. The actual wife had watched her husband marry another woman, had thrown rice, had signed the guest book. The audacity of it took her breath away. Margaret's phone rang, an unknown Seattle number. She answered. It was Emma, her voice soft and tired.
Lucas said he told you about the pregnancy, about Grace.
He did.
I don't forgive you. I want you to know that. You could have stopped this privately, early, before we fell so deep. You chose the cruelest possible way.
I know.
But I also can't forgive them. My father and Jennifer, they created this situation. Their lies, their cowardice, their selfish need to have everything, the marriage, the mistress, the children, the secrets, we're all casualties of their choices.
There was a long pause. Margaret could hear Emma breathing, could picture her hand on her growing belly.
Grace will never know. That's the decision I've made. She'll never know her father is also her uncle, never know her grandparents' story. I'll tell her father died before she was born. A car accident. Clean. Simple. Kind.
That might be best.
Don't contact me again. Don't contact Lucas. Don't contact Grace when she's born. We're all ghosts to each other now, the walking dead of a family that destroyed itself with lies and revenge and cowardice.
The line went dead. Margaret sat on her bed in her house that she'd bought with her inheritance before she'd ever met Robert. Everything hers had always been hers. Everything she'd thought was theirs had always been his and Jennifer's. She thought about Lucas and Emma, separated by geography and blood, raising a child who would never know her story. She thought about Robert and Jennifer, finally free to be together openly, their love apparently strong enough to survive decades of deception, but not honest enough to prevent it. She thought about herself, the unwitting other woman who'd spent 32 years in a marriage that didn't exist. Everyone had lost. Everyone had won. The truth had destroyed them all and freed them all in equal measure. Outside, the March frost was melting an unexpected afternoon sun. Her damaged daffodils were dead, but underneath, she could see new shoots beginning to push through. The garden would bloom again, different than before, scarred but resilient. Margaret picked up her phone and scrolled through her contacts, deleting numbers one by one. Robert, Jennifer, Lucas, Emma, even Patricia from next door, who still asked too many questions about what had happened. When she was done, her phone was nearly empty. A blank slate. A new beginning at 58, built on the ashes of a life that had been more fiction than fact. The grandfather clock chimed 3. She stood, walked downstairs, and stopped the pendulum. The ticking that had measured 32 years of lies fell silent. In that silence, Margaret began to plan what came next. Not revenge this time, just life. Quiet, solitary, honest life. She thought she heard, in that silence, something she hadn't heard in decades, the sound of her own heart, beating its own time, following its own rhythm, finally free from the tick-tock of other people's deceptions. The story was over, but Margaret Wilson, not wife, not victim, not avenger, just Margaret, was still here, still breathing, still beginning.